Well, hello there, my name is Tatanka and I figured out I would make a short video on a few tips that I felt that weren't handed to me when I started to play Factory Town. I would like to already say thank you for checking out this video and I do hope you will learn something from these tips. Please do not forget to subscribe on YouTube or follow me on Twitch to stay updated for more content. The links are below the video, but without further ado, let's start with my 6 tips on Factory Town. To start off with, chutes are really OP in this game. Their transportation is faster than the metal conveyor belts, and the magic conveyor belts are only a fraction faster. Of course, chutes on their own cannot go uphill, but they do stand their ground as long as on a flat surface or downhill. You can use a silo later in the game to climb with chutes, but I will go further on that later. So the second tip I would like to give you is that you do not have to fill all the tiles that are available to the farm with farm tiles, especially in the early or mid game. Your farm won't have the production speed to gather all the grain from the fields before they are able to grow it back. Later in the game, you might want to place more tiles or use water and fertilizer to increase the growth speed. As long as your whole field is not in a growing state, you're fine, you don't have to worry about it. To keep in mind, it is generally better to use a grabber and scaffolding or arches to grab items from buildings on a high level. This way, you will leave space on the ground for resources or workers. The base building, the barn, and other storage buildings seem the same. They all can store goods, whether it's in high amounts or small amounts, but there is a difference. The barns and the base building in this game can store goods and you don't have to move the goods in order to build something in them. So it's generally a good idea, for example, to keep a barn with planks or stones on the side. To use a silo as an elevator, all you need to do is make sure your transportation line goes into the silo. On a high level connected to the silo, you can then use a grabber and the transportation method to grab the items out. You can keep repeating this till you get to your preferred height, and some conveyor belts might be a better solution instead of the silo elevator. But this is a great way to make use of the chute speed and gain some height. When you're making sure a factory is fast enough to make a certain item, it is best to count from the top. With this, I mean that you need to keep the final production time in mind. Is it 5 seconds? Then make sure the rest of your factory can make the required items within 5 seconds as well. This way, your final production building will be stalling because it might be missing any goods. You can apply this step all the way down to the primary resource like farms or mines. So here I'm showing an example line of butter. In order to make that butter, it will take 5 seconds and 2 glasses of milk to make 1 butter. So what you're going to need to do in order to get that ready is you're going to need to make a pasture that creates milk, of course. Now this pasture creates the milk for 2 animal feed and 2 water in 2 seconds, and therefore you get 1 million fertilizer. So in this calculation, we won't be mining the fertilizer as you do not need it for the final product. But you can make that 1 milk per 2 seconds, which perfectly fits that 2 milk per 5 seconds. So on this step, you're good. Further down the line, so you're going to need that 2 animal feed per 2 seconds. Now that is a quick bit fast because it does take 2 seconds to make 1 animal feed. In order to get this done, you will need double the speed than the pasture, or in this case, which is mostly the easiest way to do this, is you're going to need 2 grain mills. And when you have 2 grain mills, you can of course make 2 animal feeds per 2 seconds. Of course, you also need to take in the 2 water per 2 seconds, but it is kind of easy since the well, for example, already creates 1 water per half a second. So as long as you don't have the well, you don't have to worry about that. One step further down the line, you're going to have the grain mill, which we talked about earlier. And in order to make that animal feed, it does make 2 grain per 2 seconds. Now this one again is a little bit tougher because one farm produces 1 grain every 1.5 seconds. Now mind you that you will have a little bit extra grain left from this, but it's a good sacrifice in order to make sure that the grain mills do get that 2 grain per 2 seconds, or to make the animal feed, and then with the animal feed you can make the milk, and with the milk you can make the butter. A great way to increase the happiness in your factory town is to check the needs of your houses. Are they missing any goods? For example, when your house is missing a grain type, you could make sure they are being sold grain type items like grain, flour, or sandwiches. You can see the items that they could fill in for that category by clicking on a house and then hovering over the item slots, and then you can see which items you could be selling to them in order to fulfill that need. This is a great way to make your citizens more happy and let them produce stuff faster. A bonus tip I would like to give you for this video is that if you press the C key when you're hovering over an item, you will actually be able to copy the building that you were hovering over. And this also works with chutes or crates or anything in the game. It's a little bit tricky with the farm tiles. For the rest of it, everything works. Also, you can press the R key to rotate a building, and this is really easy if you made a mistake with placing down the building. Another tip that I can give you with building in this game, if you hold the F key, it will show you if you got any grabbers or logic items, or for example storages that are assigned to a certain item. You can see basically the data overlay on where everything is bounded to or where everything is connected to. While you're in building mode, right click will delete the item that you're hovering over. Holding down the right click will keep deleting the same item type that you then mouse over. I hope these tips help you when you next play Factory Town. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or follow on Twitch if you did. My name is Atanka and I will see you next time. Bye bye!